welcome everybody then to tonight's Meet the Expert. We've got Jamie Stewart back from Circle Networks, who is going to teach us how to network on purpose. So if networking isn't part of your marketing strategy, and it should be, you'll absolutely want to listen to Jamie, because one of the things we do wrong with our networking in general is we're constantly trying to sell. And one of the biggest mistakes we always make in networking is we're always trying to sell. Wrong way. So I will shut up, hand over to Jamie, and Jamie will show us and teach us how to network on purpose.
Okay.
Jamie.
Thank you very much. So Stuart emailed out a workbook for you to print off. So if you want to refer to that or back to it afterwards, feel free to do that. If you're watching the recording, download it, or just take some notes. Just take some notes. So starting on page 4, if you could improve, so Jared and Ashley, if you could improve one thing with your networking or master one thing, what would it be? And then that'll help me try and answer that. Makes it easy that I've only got 2 people that I need to work on tonight. So if there was one thing that you could improve with your networking, what would it be?
I'm gonna do this as well, Jamie. So do you want in the chat box or shout out?
Shout it out. Ashley, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm still on the smaller scale of things. I think our turnover up till Christmas was like 130,000. So I'm just navigating and the area in business and construction in London. And I don't quite know the direction and steps forward. What is the best way to go about things to network? To be honest, to be completely honest with you, yeah. Apart from the social media that I've done and SEOs, but that's not networking, is it? That's
Yeah.
That's where
I find. Sorry,
go on.
Was that my turn?
Yes.
Okay. I think what I've found from networking, or what I would love to actually improve on, is networking's changed. It's the different generation. People are so much more wary and fed up with you trying to sell to them. And even just genuinely trying to get a connection and just start a conversation feels harder than it's ever been. Because they're on the back foot waiting for you, or they're just waiting to jump in at you as well. But just trying to get a connection, I find it's really difficult to get. Where it never used to be that way. It used to be much easier.
Yeah. Okay, so building relationships with people then.
Yes, in a more effective way of saying that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Stuart, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I'll join this. I would, and I know Toby's Tobias has just joined us as well. So good evening there, Toby. I would say for me, the one thing that I need to improve, and you'll have seen this, Jamie, and it'll frustrate the shit out of you, is the consistency with the follow-up. Going along to networking groups, meeting really, really good people, then not having the time to have the collaborations of one-to-ones afterwards. Yeah. That's my biggest problem, biggest challenge.
Okay. Cool, thank you. Tobias, we're just talking about if you could improve one thing with your networking, what would it be?
Probably do some.
Okay, that's a good start. Finding the time, because there's we're all busy people, aren't we? Okay, I like that. Neil, what about yourself?
For me, I would say it's growing a network that I know, like, and trust. So it's building a sort of like an organization that I could rely on other trades that I would have thought I know exactly where they are and what they can do. And they are also in the same affiliated group, such as the Federation of Master Builders or something, where they'll go, right, yeah, we've got this badge, we wear that, we are trusted. We're not just sort of fly by your seat of your pants cowboys, or we want to be able to work with people that you're networking with purpose, because you're also looking to grow that property portfolio, or you're looking at it as we are developers, or we want it to be not just a house builder for a client, but we're actually looking at it as what's your purpose, where's your why, and what you can do for others.
Okay, cool. If you're following, so I'll do this as if people are watching this back and using the workbook that we emailed out as well. So one of the things to do on page 6 is to get ready before you go networking. So going networking might be that you're going to see a client or a past client. So going networking isn't always going to a networking event, although it could be going to an in-person event or an online event like this. And Stuart, you guys run these trainings on a regular basis. So people turn up. So turning up to an event like this ticks the box for going networking because you're going to meet some people. And ask Tobias, sorry, one of you guys said that you were based in London.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Ashley,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I saw, I don't know if you saw when you were saying that, but Neil straight away went, oh, interesting. So yeah, so Neil straight away caught that, wrote that down, and he was like, so expect Neil to be following up with you after this event because you're not far from each other.
Great. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I like about Zoom networking. When you're in a room, and quite often people run networking events in a U shape, you can't see people's reactions on either side of you. Whereas when you're on Zoom, everyone's facing the screen, and we are pretty much an arm's length away from the screen. So in a room, you've got people to your left and your right, you can't see their faces, and the people on the other side, it can feel like they're eyeballing you. It's more intimidating in person when you're speaking, particularly some of the networking events that force you to stand up and do your pitch, and you're not allowed to have any notes. But before you even go networking, before you got to see everyone, you need to do a little bit of prep work. How often, or when was the last time that you updated all your social media stuff to check that it's relevant to what you're doing? So, for example, Neil might have just gone through a rebrand and everything's now called NJG, but it could have been called Neil Groom Building Services in the past. So go through all your social media and check it's all up to date and relevant, and that your links are on there and they're working. Because the first thing that people do is check you out on social media before they do anything. And if your social media doesn't match what you're talking about, so I'm going to use Neil all the way through this. So Neil might have been doing roofs and then decided he could be a general building contractor, and all of a sudden goes networking and talks about building extensions, and yet all his social media has just got new roofs and old roofs and broken roofs and leaky roofs. And there's a disconnect there. So no one ever comes back to him and go, Neil, I know last week at that networking event, you said that you were a general contractor. Well, when I looked at your social media, it's just got roofs on it. They just never get in touch. So go through and audit all your social media and check that all your links work, that your descriptions are up to date, and that your profile pictures are up to date as well. I went through this. I had a brilliant profile picture of me that where I looked much younger and slimmer, but it wasn't the face that people meet nowadays. So I had to update it. I didn't want it. None of us like having our picture taken, but getting an up-to-date picture taken by someone makes all the difference. It's that first impression. We all spend money on getting a nice logo created as part of our branding, and yet we'll just take a selfie, or we'll take a selfie and crop our partner off out of it because we're in our best gear when we're at a wedding or something like that. Have a good profile picture makes a big difference. It's probably more important than your logo on social media because people will connect with you. They see you at events. You're the person that's going to turn up on at the job and do the work. Profile pictures are really important. And then get somebody else to look over your social media and spot the stuff that you can't see. You know, it's really easy to spot something that someone else has missed. Clients do it all the time, don't they? Well, what about this thing? And you've been looking at it for weeks and not noticed that thing. So get somebody else to look at your social media and see what's missing or what's wrong. Then with online networking, have a think about your meeting background. So if Neil was to turn his camera slightly to show us the other side of the room, yeah, you see the exercise. Yeah, so what Neil's given us is the curated view where it looks nice. Not everybody does that. Sometimes people just go, it's just a Zoom call or it's just a video call, and there's all sorts of shit in the background. You want to give the best version of you. So, like in the back of my office, I've got a bike down here and shit on the floor and all sorts of stuff. Nobody needs to see that. They just want to see the nice stuff. And then a branded shirt or something like that. So I remember networking with somebody once, and he was a plumber, and he always turned up. You know, like when tradespeople just like they might buy nice work gear, and then they got shit on their hands, and then they just wipe it like that on their shirt. it just doesn't create the best impression. So if you're going to be going to meet somebody, dress as if you're going to meet your best person ever. And quite often I'll meet people online and they go, well, it's only networking. I wouldn't dress like this if I was going to see somebody. And I'm like, but you're going online to see them. So wherever you are, people are going to judge you based on what they see. So if we've just met Neil for the first time tonight and he looks like a dog's dinner, then we're just going to assume how he's gonna turn up like that to see a client. People never tell you that. They just make assumptions. So thinking about your image, your branding, all that kind of stuff, your social media profile, is it up to date before you even think about going networking or speaking to somebody? And then is there any props? So depend upon what you do in your business. I remember a guy that I used to network with. He was a plasterer and used to do a lot of rendering, and he used K-Rend, and he used to have a small like a slab of K-Rend, and he would pour water on to demonstrate how it just ran off and didn't soak in. So it could be that there's something that's relevant in your business where you can visually demonstrate it. A book, if you've got a book, if you've written a book. Who wrote that, Stu?
No idea. Some really clued up guy.
But having a prop like that or wearing branded stuff. So somebody sent me this mug, so they make mugs. Little things like that can make a difference. So that you could say, if I broke mine, but I could just be doing this all the time, and it could be showing off your brand. Neil's got it up behind him, that kind of stuff. Okay. Then what do you want from networking? It was interesting what Stuart said about not being consistent with the follow-up. Now, for me, with my networking, I do quite a lot of networking. I run a networking business. I have a goal to meet one good person from each event. I used to be that person that would go, someone would say, oh, there's going to be 40 people at that event. I'd go along. You end up with a big stack of business cards like this that you put an elastic band around them, and then you put them in your drawer and you never do anything with it. That's what most people do. They go networking to collect connections that they just put in the drawer, whether that's online or in person. So I go networking and I try and pick one person. So out of all the people I meet, I'm trying to find someone that I've got a really good connection with that could either be someone that could introduce me to lots of people that I know. So Stuart would tick that box in this room, or a potential client. And I might meet Neil and think, oh, do you know what? I could really work with him. We hit it off. I'm going to follow up with him. But we're all busy people. So I like networking events where you get to have conversations with people. And that's the kind of networking that we run, where you're meeting people and getting to know them rather than just hearing a pitch. And I think a lot of networking can feel very pitchy, where people just turn up, spout their pitch. None of us go networking to buy anything, so no one's interested because all they're waiting to do is to do their pitch. So set a goal when you go networking. And then the other part that I think that a lot of people do is they'll put the event like this in their diary tonight. Okay, so you've all put this in your diary, 6 till 9:30 tonight. You're here for this training. And then it's the bit afterwards that we struggle with. So you'll come off this training at 7:30. You'll probably have kids that you need to sort out, feeding young ones, feeding yourself, calls to do, emails to answer. But the important bit that Stuart said he struggles with is following up with some people that he's met. So at some point, you've got to put some time in your diary to follow up with the people. Now, we might have met Jared for the first time tonight, and if this was a networking event, he's described the type of people that he wants an introduction to. When would he prefer to receive that? So Jared would like it straight away. If I said, oh, Jared, I know someone that's a great fit for you, well, I think he'd like that straight away rather than in a week's time. But if I'm always really busy, I'm never going to make time for it. Jared never gets that introduction. If I don't pass introductions to other people, why would I expect anyone to pass them to me? So to take your point, Ashley, that you're quite new to all this, just unmute yourself. What kind of work are you in?
Yeah, predominantly brickwork, groundwork, garden renovations. And then people always ask for other trades. So I've got local friends and roofing, for example. Yeah, it's quite often. But yeah, in a nutshell.
So the ideal thing for you would be that you start to build a network, and this is what I talk to people about, building a network rather than going networking. So you don't necessarily need to go networking, you need to
Right.
build a network. So there will be people who don't do what you do that you can collaborate with. So for example, so you say brickwork.
Yeah.
So a plumber is probably not interested in brickwork, and if someone might be having a garden tap installed, and then they want a new patio or a retaining wall or something like that outside, or perhaps to brick up the front of their garage and turn it into another room on the house. The plumber's not going to do that. The electrician's not going to deal with it. Those are two people that could quite easily, oh, I know Bricky. Let me introduce you to Ashley. So I would suggest that you start to write a list out of people that you could recommend so that when you're on site or speaking to a client, you tell the customer, oh, if you need any other trades, I've got loads of people that I could recommend that I know that do good jobs, that are reliable, that don't rip you off. Because that's what people want. They want to, particularly with trades more than anything else.
Yeah.
If I know a good one and I trust you, then I'm going to rely on you to introduce me to some other ones. And I think from a trades perspective, that's the easiest thing for you guys to do is to have some people in your local area that complement what you do and that you start commenting on their social media, tagging them on posts and recommending them to your clients and being explicit with this and saying to people when you go around to do a proposal, like someone invites you around, generally you have to do a site visit. So that when you're there, you say to them, do you need anything else doing? Because I know all the other people that you could use. And then if you start doing that for other people, then they'll start doing it back for you. That's the biggest thing that I see. If you can build a network. Stuart.
Yeah, just to go on from that, Jamie, I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they'll look around at the people in the room. Right, so I'm looking going here. I don't know. Ashley, I'm not quite sure. Neil, not 100%. Tobias, don't really know. But that's irrelevant. It's not the people in the room. It's who those people know. Right, so Tobias could know my perfect client, could know 10 of my perfect clients. And that's the thing I think a lot of people miss on networking is they're too busy trying to pitch to the people in the room rather than trying to get to know the people in the room so that they're comfortable opening up their network to them. And I think a lot of people go for the quick wins in networking and miss that out.
Definitely. Definitely. I think most people here go networking if you want more clients.
Yeah.
That's a bit like saying post on social media and get clients. It's like we've all tried posting on social media and we don't get flooded with clients. And yet we carry on doing it because it doesn't really cost us anything. Going networking is the same, but you might have a bad experience going to a networking event and then you go, that's shit. I'm never doing that again. But there's lots of different types of networking around and different ways to build your network. So I encourage people when you go networking generally, you need to have an idea of what a good introduction is for you. People usually want to help other people. And quite often I'll say to someone, what can I do to help you? And they look at me and go, what? No one's ever asked me that before. I'm not sure. Do you know what? If you can introduce me to anyone, that'd be great. And then the A word is like swearing. So an introduction to anyone. Does anybody here want an introduction to a client with no money? Or a pain in the ass client? Or those people that you're never good enough, you're never fast enough, and they always want more from you. So asking for an introduction to anyone includes those people. So if you can get good at describing what a good client is, I mean, Ashley, you could, if I use you as an example, you could brick up a window for somebody, or you could build a 30-meter wall around their garden. You'd prefer one rather than the other, wouldn't you? So when you're saying to people like I do brickwork, and if you describe an ideal client, so what's the biggest job that you've done so far?
A couple of extensions, but just the brickwork and some groundworks, 30 grand, 30. And I did network last week and we're pricing for one now, which is about 50 to 60 grand. So that's where we're at. Yeah.
Okay. So if you explain what a good client is, that you'll work on smaller jobs, but ideally you're looking for something that's probably an extension, a few weeks worth of work, or because it depends who you're speaking to, whether they understand it, a big wall
Yeah.
versus a small wall in layman's terms.
Yeah.
Or someone like Neil. So like Neil's not getting any younger, and he's probably thinking, how do I get off the tools, and wants to start subcontracting some of it. So maybe finding someone like that. So if you've got different ways that you explain what it is that you're looking for, and that you say, look, my expertise is just in brickwork, but I don't do the plastering and I don't do the electrics and I won't fit windows, then it gives people an idea of who they can introduce you to and who you could collaborate with as well. So get clear on describing what it is that you want, but also include what you don't want. And I think that's really important sometimes. There'll be certain people, if you think about the worst clients that you've had, not to name them, but just to explain, I don't want these kind of people. And then straight away, people, oh, okay, I won't introduce you to them because they'll know the type of people that you're talking about. And then what is it that people need to do to introduce you? So what would you prefer them to say and then do? And I'll give you an example of this. So Stuart is up in the north of Scotland. So realistically, I'm not going to set him up for a face-to-face meeting with somebody in England. If Stuart then wants to have meetings with people, Stuart, do you have a meeting booking link?
Yes, I do. Yep.
So in an ideal world, Stuart probably wants me to introduce him to Neil, but rather than sending an email that says Neil meet Stuart, that when I speak to Neil, I've already got Stuart's meeting link and I just get Neil to book a call in with him. Now, for you guys, Ashley, I'll use you as an example here. There's probably a certain travel time that you'll do from where you live.
Yeah.
What, half an hour or an hour's travel?
It's London, so
And I want to get to
it
the
takes
end of the
40
road.
minutes to get anywhere around the corner in London.
Right,
But you
okay.
know, when it comes to I go to a certain area of East London, I don't really like going there at all. It's like the other side of the world, and an hour max, you know.
Right. So, and if you explain that to people, so look, I'm going to have to do a site visit, so I only want them in this area. And there's nothing wrong with saying that to people. And if somebody gives you one outside of the M25, you definitely don't want that. So just explaining that to people. But how do you want them to do it? So some people might like a WhatsApp group set up. Some people might just say, right, send me their number and I'll ring them, but get them to save my number so they know who I am when I'm calling them. Whatever it is that suits you, get the other person to do that and make it work for them. Um, and if Neil gets in touch and says, right, I've got a job for you, I've spoke to this person, give them a call, ask some questions first. So thank you very much, Neil. That's great. Can you tell me a little bit about them? What was the conversation? What's the job? Do they have enough money for it? Have you worked with them in the past? So find out as much as you can from the person making the introduction. Whereas I think sometimes all we do is we go, thanks, we take the number and we ring them because we're just grateful that someone's recommended us. And it might be that we go back to Neil and go, would you mind just checking if they've got 10 grand or 20 grand or how they're going to pay for it? Because if Neil knows them well enough, it should be okay for him to ask that question beforehand to save us some time. And I think one of the things that we need to do is to get, if Neil's got a good relationship with the person that he's introducing us to, it should be easy for him to do that. And then he can turn an average referral into a good one, or it might be that he just saves us an hour's drive, an hour's conversation on the driveway, an hour's drive back, 2 hours putting a proposal together to find out that they just can't afford what we're offering them. So there's a lot of time wasted, and I know this from experience. Neil had a few before Christmas where they came through Google. Great, they want a big extension. Potentially, it was worth £250,000 or something like that. But he didn't know them. And when you go through the process, I think there's a lot of people that go, yeah, we'd love this lovely 2-story, 3-bedroomed extension on the side of the house with bay windows downstairs, and we're going to knock everything through. And then they fall off the chair when they actually get the quote through. but there's a lot of work goes into putting that proposal together. So the more qualified you can have with the introductions that you receive from somebody, the more time it saves you, and the more frustration. One of the things when you go networking, you get the opportunity to do presentations. I encourage everybody to have 2 or 3 short presentations. So if you join a networking group, there'll be an opportunity to do maybe a 10-minute presentation. Quite often, people drop out. Like tonight, there was 30 people registered for this, and people just drop out for all sorts of reasons. If you let the organizer know that if ever they're short of a speaker, that you can step in to do a presentation because you've already got one prepared, you'll get lots of speaking opportunities. But that also shows, so if Stuart's that person, I know that I could ask Stuart to do a presentation at short notice. You get more opportunities. You become the person that they're more likely to introduce because you're reliable and you're prepared. So have a think about your presentations, and just have 1 or 2. The beauty of it, the world that we live in now, you can ask ChatGPT to outline it for you. So I'm going to do a 10-minute presentation on my business. Here's the link to my website. Could you structure the outline of a 10-minute presentation for me? And it'll bullet point it for you. It won't necessarily write, it could write it word for word, but you want to do it in your own way. It'll outline it for you. So have a couple of presentations that you can do in that way. And put in it depends on what you're doing, but a mixture of business and personal. Nobody buys from a business by its name or its brand or your job title. People buy from people. And if you come across as a nice person that's reliable, that meets their values, then people are going to warm to you because people want to deal with people like them. So our networking events, we start by saying, introduce yourself by what you do outside of work before you mention your business. And it throws some people. So Stuart, you would have seen this when you first came along. What do you mean? Tell you what I do when I'm not working.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do you introduce yourself?
From your network or in general?
Well, if you were to do general networking, what would you say?
Yeah, you just default into name, rank, and serial number. My name is I own such and such, and I do this. And people go, "Oh my word, how incredibly fucking boring." Right? It's like the financial advisor. I'm a financial advisor. Oh yeah, okay, I'm going to go and get a coffee now. Whereas when they introduce themselves as, "Oh, I helped you retire 5 years early." Oh, now I want to talk to you. So I got that from you, Jamie. Yes. People are not actually interested in the work element, they're interested in the you element.
And as well, some of the, like I know that Stuart, and if you follow Stuart on social media, you know he's got a dog called Monty. So it's really easy to introduce people where they've got something in common. So Neil, let me introduce you to Stuart. You've both got dogs and you like barbecues and those things that people have got in common. It helps
Yes.
you to make introductions. So teach people a little bit about you so that when they go away to try to introduce you, if I say, let me introduce you to Ashley, who's a builder, or let me introduce you to Neil, who's a great guy, and let me tell you a bit about Neil, it's easier when you know a little bit about that person and you want to meet that person rather than just someone who's a builder or a roofer
100%.
or an electrician. So teach people a bit about you so that they can use that when they're introducing you to people. People want to deal with people. The other thing that I encourage people to do is to have a few tools. So, Stuart, do you use Calendly?
I don't. It's the booking for us is done through Zoho, the CRM system. Same
Yeah.
thing though. You
So
go in, select the time.
that's it. So a lot of people have got some kind of calendar system where you can book
Yeah,
calls. Um, Even if you don't have one, some of the people that you're introducing might have them. So ask if they've got that because it's easy to get them a meeting in the diary. That's what we really want to do when we're networking, is get somebody a meeting with somebody. We don't want to send someone an email. We don't want to send someone a WhatsApp. We want to get them a meeting. So if Neil's got uh, a friend of his that needs an extension and he needs a brickie for that, you don't want an email, Ashley. You want him to get you a meeting where you just turn up at a certain place and day and time. That's the dream scenario. And you know a bit about the person, and he's called Stuart, and he's got bags of money, and he wants this great big extension on the side of his house. That's the kind of introduction that you want, not an email that says, meet Stuart. You two should chat. And I've received a lot of emails like that in the past. The other thing that you can do when you're working with people, so the dream scenario would be that Neil actually takes you to see that client. And I think in the trades world, in the property world, construction, you're generally working with people that are near you. So there's nothing better than actually going and taking someone to meet your friend, client, or contact and explaining. And then with that, I can go, well, I would actually look up to Neil because he's 6'4", but I would be looking up to Neil and going, he's a really good guy. And he's got a dog just like you, and he's got kids at the same age as you. And I've seen this job and this job and this job that he does. And then I'll speak to Stuart and I'll go, so you were telling me that you want this extension, and here's why I think that you two are a good fit. If I don't do that, and Neil just goes to meet Stuart, he's got to do all the relationship building stuff himself. And people are just naturally reserved. So Neil doesn't want to be too salesy. Stuart's thinking, oh, God, is this guy any good? I don't really want to, I don't know anything about him. So if you turn up to make that introduction or ask somebody, well, would you mind taking me around there? There's a pint in it for you, or however you might word that, then it can really help you with that relationship building side of things. And I think, Jared, that's the point that you made earlier. Trying to connect with some people can be hard. Someone sent me a connection request. Go on.
Absolutely. No, I was going to say, yeah, absolutely. It's all either all business, and it's really hard to get them deeper connections and break down and barriers and trust.
Yeah. I mean, so we were on a call yesterday, me, Jared, and a few others, and Jared's accent gives away where he's from. But he lives in Scotland now. And I had another guy on who was originally Scottish but lives in the Northeast. So it was really easy for me to make that connection between the two of them just because they've got things in common. And it's surprising if they just done the name, job title, business, there's no relationship building in that side of things. And if Jared had just approached Tom directly, Tom naturally like his defenses come up. When somebody else makes the introduction, we relax. Oh, if you trust him, then I'll trust him. So referrals come with a high level of trust. And if someone's making that, I mean, how many people go on Facebook and will ask complete strangers, can you recommend a builder? And then everybody jumps in and recommends a builder, and you've no idea if they're any good or not. In a conversation, I can get across, do you know what, I really trust this person. I've seen the work that he does. I've worked with him on other projects. I think he'd be a good fit for you to do this because this, that, and the other. And then it doesn't even go on social media. So you're not competing with anybody then. There's nothing worse. So the jobs that Neil might have had recently, they've Googled builder in Welwyn Garden City and they might have gone to 5 people. And then you end up in competing on price with people. With recommendations and referrals, there's a good chance that there's going to be no competition for that. So if I ask Neil, can you recommend a plumber? I'm not going to go and bother Googling it because I trust Neil. And if he gives me a plumber that he highly recommends, I'll just go with them. I won't even query the price more often than not because it comes by recommendation. So it can save you a ton of time because you're not competing with anybody else, but you know you're not going to get screwed on price as well. So it saves us all a bit of time and we're going to win good clients. Because if I like Neil and a good client for him is probably going to be a good client for me. Because we've all had bad clients and we don't want any more of those. But no one ever goes around saying, do you know what? You can choose your clients. If you teach people what a good client is and what a bad client is and which one you want, then you only end up with good ones. And I'm quite fortunate. I live in this world now where I've got a whole membership full of nice people because I've taught people the kind of people that we like to have in our network. So things like that. The other thing I talk about is having some kind of toolkit to help people. So if I use Ashley as an example, I would imagine you've got some pictures of brickwork that you've done, of extensions, walls that you've built and things like that.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have them in a folder in your phone? So rather, so
They're a bit all over the place in my phone. Yeah.
yes. So I've been there in the past where I used to have a social media business and we would create video content for people, and I'd be with somebody and I'd go, oh, actually, we did a job for someone just like you. Let me find it. Oh, it's in here somewhere. It's in it. When did I do it? No, it's not that one. It's not that one. What I'd encourage you to do is to go through all your photos and put them in a folder of your best jobs. And then that way, when you're speaking to Neil, and if you're face to face, you just pick up your phone and go, oh, let me just show you these. These are some of the jobs that I did. If you want, I can WhatsApp them to you so that it's at your fingertips, not, oh, let me find that. It's here somewhere. So a little bit of prep beforehand, and it could be pictures as well as video so that you can just WhatsApp that to somebody really easily. And then when Neil's going to see somebody, he can go, let me show you the work that Ashley does. I've got it just here. So a little bit of thought in that. And that might be that you've got a screenshot of some Google reviews or Facebook reviews or a screenshot of a text message that a client sent you. All of those things can help somebody to open the door for you. So if I go back to Jared's point, if he wanted to meet Neil, and you're both on opposite sides of the screen to me, if Jared just sends Neil a LinkedIn connection request, Neil might be shit at LinkedIn. And he might have thousands of people. So it's nothing personal. He's just overwhelmed with it. He doesn't do it. And in the middle of the screen is me and Ashley, and Jared might go, oh, I can see that Neil's connected to Ashley and Jamie. I know Ashley really well. And he rings Ashley and says, would you do me a favor? I really want to connect with Neil, and here's why, and here's how I'd like you to make that introduction and what's in it for Neil. And then Ashley picks up the phone to Neil because he knows him really well and they live nearby and opens that door. It's completely different when somebody else opens the door for you than you trying to open it yourself. Because we'll pick up the phone. So if Neil and Ashley know each other and one rings the other, you answer the phone with a smile, not who's this ringing me? Like we all do that, don't we? I mean, you probably think that anyway when someone rings you. Why is Stuart ringing me? What does he want? Is our natural thing, even though his name's in my phone. When it's a number that we don't know, sometimes we think, oh God, who's trying to sell me something here? That's our gut feel, our instinct with stuff like this. So when somebody else makes that introduction for you, and then Ashley goes, Neil, I want to introduce you to Jared. I think he'd be really good for you because of this, this, and this. Would it be all right? Save his number. I'll get him to call you, or I'll set up a meeting for you, or I'll book it in. So opening doors for other people goes a long way and can get you in much quicker, especially if Ashley might then do a three-way video call where he says, right, Jared, this is Neil. I know this about Neil. I know this about Jared. And you can break the ice much quicker for people. Referrals, you can build a whole business on referrals. And then the other part that I talk to people about is in our personal lives, we don't go on one date and get married. I've yet to meet that person. There's always going to be someone, but nobody goes on one date and gets married. So we meet somebody, we go on a few dates, we start to get to know them, we start to build a relationship with them. We might then introduce them to our friends, then our family, then move in together, and at some point we might get married or we might have kids, right? That's the relationship building process. In business, people hear this thing, go networking and get clients. So they think that they can go to a networking event once, meet Neil, do my pitch, and then he's going to buy my shit. And it doesn't work like that. So you've got to, I might meet Neil today and think, do you know what? He could make a dream client for me. But he hasn't come to a networking event to buy anything. So I'm going to have to build a relationship with him and get to know him, perhaps help him with some other stuff before then we have a conversation about how I might help him directly. It's a longer term approach. And it might be Neil and Ashley could be great referral partners, but you've never met each other. Neil might have a real need for someone to do some brickwork next week on a massive project. But if it's for his best or his newest client, if he's never seen your work before, Ashley, if he's never met you before, he's just not going to do that straight away. So you've got to build relationships with people. So take a step back from it and think, I've got to build a relationship with this person. So it takes a little bit longer, but then if you build a good friendship, and in Circle Networks, our strapline is friendship fuels business. People that you know, like, and trust will go out of their way to help you. How often does someone ring us up and we'll stop doing paid work to help somebody else out for free? Yeah, we can be in the middle of doing something, whether you're on site or at your desk, and then someone rings, oh, would you do me a favor? Could you just? And we stop doing what we get paid for to help somebody else that doesn't benefit us at all. When you've got really good friendships in business, then you can tap into those things to get more of what you want. What are we doing for time? What time is this in the diary for, Stu? Till 7?
Thereabouts.
Okay.
It's usually 6 till 7, but it's thereabouts. Leaving some time for questions and bits and pieces as well, Jamie. So
Cool.
we're fluid.
Cool. So if you're following this, there's a bit on rapport building skills on page 12, and there's 4 things that I recommend to people. The priority is listening to other people. Everybody wants to talk, and the irony of me doing all the talking on this at this point is not lost. But most people go networking. If you get good at asking questions and listening to other people, you'll build much better relationships with them. So the more that you can find out about somebody else, the better. Smiling. Oh, God. Zoom calls have highlighted to me how bloody miserable I look all the time. And I have to remind myself constantly to smile when I'm on Zoom. The years that I've been in front of people in meetings and I must have looked so pissed off. This is my really interested face. That's me actually enjoying listening to somebody what they're talking about. So I have to really remember. So listening is the biggest tip. We've 2 of these and 1 of these for a reason. Smiling. Smiling makes a difference, and little gestures when you just nod along or shake your head or laugh, that shows someone that you're listening to them and makes you think, so, all right, I really like Neil because he's making a big difference. Stuart's really good. I'm not sure about Jared because he's eating his dinner while he's listening to this. But it's that kind of thing that makes a difference. Ask some questions as well if it's appropriate. Sometimes there are those people that just want to ask questions because they just want to be in the spotlight. But if Neil's just explained something and I don't understand it, there's probably a good chance that somebody else doesn't. Or I could ask a question that makes Neil look good. So Neil, have you been a builder for long?
Yes.
Yes. 40 years he's been a builder.
40 years. Man and boy, that's it.
Stuart?
No, just you mentioned something there, Jamie, that you think, well, nobody would do that, eat their dinner and have on a one-to-one networking event. And I had it last year.
Sorry,
I
Jared.
had it like I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's fine in some of this, munching away. I've got some bits and pieces here that I'm going to wire into in a minute. But this was a one-to-one networking call
Yeah.
on Zoom. And the first thing is, I mean, it's just Aye, and I'm thinking, there's just no way, absolute no way I'm going to refer this person
Right.
because it's
it's
all
not-
first impressions.
it's
It's all first impressions.
Jared's trying to find his lunch now or his dinner so he can have something to eat and not feel like he's missing out.
What's he having? What you got?
I'm on that fasting thing where I've got the tightest window. So I've just literally
We got 10 minutes left. You've got 10 minutes left.
Finish,
Oh,
finish wrap
Jared,
my windows out.
I feel your pain.
Just a snack.
I
it's
feel
nothing.
your
I
pain.
apologise.
I've got that fasting window as well. I mean, I've got to try and eat all my stuff within that 24-hour period.
Listening, asking good questions, smiling, and doing what you say you're going to do. So quite often I'll meet people at networking about, oh, I know loads of people I could introduce you to, and nothing happens. So if you think that you can help somebody, the sooner you do it, the better, because it creates the best impression. Most people are going networking because they're looking for clients. And if I meet Tobias tonight and he goes, oh, I'm looking for that next client, he wants me to do something about that quickly, not in a week or 2 weeks' time. So I think there's a window of opportunity for you to react to somebody and do something. And it might be, I've just met Ashley for the first time. I might need to ring him up and ask him some questions. And that does two things. So rather than me just going, oh, Neil, you should speak to Ashley, and I put the two of you together. If I ring Ashley and say, Ashley, I think I've got someone that would be a good fit for you. Can you just tell me what to say, how to bring it up in conversation? Then Ashley knows that I'm actually doing something to try and help. What I find most people do is they go away and try to make an introduction. And I speak to Neil and I say, Neil, got a brilliant guy, he's excellent at brickwork, does extensions. And you go, where's he based? Oh, I don't know. Has he got a team or is he on it? I don't know. Is he any good? I don't know that. I just met him. He's a nice guy. But Neil's not interested at that point and I've completely messed it up. And no one ever comes back and says, I had a brilliant introduction, but I messed it up. I've never had it. I've never had it. So encourage people to come back to you so that you can tell them what to say. So if you think that someone can make an introduction, and I usually say this at networking events, you think you can introduce me to somebody, let me know so I can tell you what to say and what to do. And it just might make the difference between getting that in. And then the other thing, Stuart alluded to it before, about breaking rapport. So at this point, I would usually use somebody as a guinea pig, but there's on Zoom in particular, I've seen it's Neil's turn to do his presentation. So, particularly when you're quite new to this stuff, there's a little bit of pressure that comes with it. At the point that Neil starts talking, somebody goes, "Oh," and it just throws you completely. Or they might just get up and walk out. Or, it's nothing personal, but then they just turn the camera off at the point that you start speaking. All these little things can make people go, what a wanker. And I've completely lost what I was going to say now. So it's really easy for people to break rapport. And yet in person, you wouldn't pick up your phone. Like in the middle of someone's presentation, if we were all in the same room, you wouldn't pick up your phone and reply to a WhatsApp, and people think it's okay to do it on Zoom. So treat online networking the same way that you would as if you're in front of people in the same room. And then
Jamie, I don't know if it was you told me to do this, and I stick by it. Is when you're on Zoom networking, shut your Outlook down because there is nothing worse. Yeah, there's nothing worse, and I've not got Ed open, but you know what I mean, where you do this and you go into a screen and your face changes color because you're obviously you've opened up a different screen. I find that really off-putting.
Yeah. So you'll see it, right? It's particularly so you'll see somebody. Neil starts his presentation, and all of a sudden I lean in a little bit, and then my eyes start going left to right because I've not even got him on screen. I'm starting to read my emails because I can be really productive when I'm doing this, or it starts to wobble a little bit like that because I'm actually typing and the webcam's wobbling because I'm not paying attention. With online networking, I encourage people to do this. Right, just do me a favor, put your pen down for a minute and give me the next 4 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it might be. And then so I might be doing let me think of an example. So I might say, right, okay, everybody, just put your pen down for the next 5 minutes. I just want to tell you a little bit about this. And then I might go, so I'm just going to describe my ideal client. And if you think that you know someone that you could introduce me to, just write their name down. Now, this is me talking to the screen. This is me looking at my phone because someone's just sent me a message. This is me writing someone's name down. So at the point that we might all be together, and I've got all eyes on me at the moment because I've said, put your phones down, put your pens down. At the point that I say, Stuart, just write down Neil's name, and his head goes down like this, then I know that I need to follow up with that person. You can't
Like
see
it.
you can't see that in person sometimes because you've got people on your right, people on your left. You don't have that eye contact with everybody. Sometimes it might be like I picked up on right at the start where Ashley said he's in London and Neil went, there was just that little like, right, I've clocked you. I'm going to follow up with you afterwards. You can get that sometimes. Now, if that's someone going, oh, I know someone I can introduce you to, they might come off this call and completely forget about it because The kids need sorting out. He's got a toddler walking around the house. You need to walk the dog. All that kind of life stuff just happens. So you can do things where people will give you clues that they can help you, but then you've got to follow up. You've got to follow up with people. And I talk about building relationships with people. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So it's me and Stuart have known each other for, I think it's just over 2 years now, isn't it?
Yeah, thereabouts, yeah.
So we're connected on social media. We see each other's stuff. We interact with each other's stuff. I know that if Stuart tags me on a post, he wants me to comment on it. I don't always see all his posts, but whenever he does tag me, I definitely make a point of commenting because we've just started to build that relationship. If he asks me to speak at one of his events, I'll do it. If he asks me to do something, I'll try my best to do it whenever I can. That's part of relationship building with people. And I don't think I've ever sort of withdrawn from the relationship. I've never come to you and said, "Could you do this for me?" Not yet, anyway. But at some point, I feel like I'm invested in the relationship that if I say to Stuart, "All right, I need some more work. How could you help me?" that he'd probably do that for me. So it's a long-term thing. I don't know. Stuart might just he might write a book and put something in it about me and how I've helped him with his networking. Who knows what it might be? But I just try my best to help as many people as I can. And I think in your worlds, you help your clients. So the more that you can help your clients by having a good network of other people around you, those other people that you bring into the jobs will do the same back for you if you build a good relationship with them. Now, if you just randomly give a job to Stuart and then give one to Jared and then give one to Ashley and then give one to Tobias, it's just random. You've got to be a bit more strategic with it and go, Tobias is going to be my go-to guy for that. Neil's going to be my go-to guy for that. And I'm going to stay in regular contact with him. I'm going to check in on him. And all that stuff builds relationships so that when Jared goes, I'm struggling to connect with this person. Could you help me with this? Yeah, no problem. I'll do it straight away. Stuart?
Yeah, just something else to add, Jamie, about you were talking about networking. It's just not about networking, it's about building the network. And what I make a point of doing after any circle event is connecting with the people on LinkedIn, right? And various people have various connection percentages, but on average, it's maybe about it's getting lower now. It's maybe about 15 to 20% of the connection requests that you send out get accepted. There or thereabouts. Some are more, some are less. My connection request rate with connecting with people in Circle is 100%. Every single person connects, right? Because I'll send them a message, or hi Neil, it's really good to meet you at Circle today, or hi Neil, saw you at Circle today. Pity we never get a chance to talk, but let's connect anyway. There's always a nice little message there. And straight away, that kind of know, like, and trust is started to build just by being at that event on its own. So that networking event starts to build the network. I think that's the bit a lot of people miss. And
Yeah.
then, of course, that's you got those people in your ecosystem. They start to see your stuff. They start to know you better. It all starts to work.
It's about building a network. It's not about going networking. And
Yes, that's exactly it.
whether that's so I'll give an example here. So Circle Networks might not be in your locality. So it might not be local to you, but there are things that you will need. So you might need a bookkeeper at some point. You might need somebody to update your website. You might need someone to do some social media stuff for you. You might need somebody to introduce you to an investor. All of those things can come from your network if you've got a good
Yes.
network that can help you. Might be that you want to speak to someone that's written a great book. Well, I would introduce them to Stuart because he's done 2 or 3. There's all sorts of things. And you've got to build a network that's not just for you, that's for the people that are in your network as well. So they might come to you and go, do you know anyone that can do this? And then you need to be able to go, oh yeah, let me introduce you to Jared or Stuart or Neil. So building a network isn't just for you. And I think sometimes people are a bit too transactional with it. He's never going to be any use to me. Why would I want to connect with him? But it might be useful to somebody else one day. And you just never know. You just never know. once upon a time, you used to be able to sync your phone with LinkedIn. So I made the mistake of clicking that, and it downloaded everybody that I was connected to on LinkedIn into my phone book. And I think at the time it was about 1,000 people. But I looked in my connections today, and I've got 3,600 people in my phone book on my phone. I have no idea who these people are. But every now and again, I'll ring somebody just to find out if who they are, like to reconnect with them. Or someone will say, "Have you got so and so's number?" I'll be, "Yeah, let me just get it for you." So, like, this is the one thing, and mine's backed up to iCloud, so that if anything happens to it, I can just restore it. Neil had a drama, didn't he? When he changed from Samsung to iPhone, none of the data came across and he had a nightmare for ages. So, like, these things are our lifeline, more so in trades than anywhere else, I think. So, the last bit I'll just end with is make sure it's all backed up somewhere.
Absolutely.
Right. Anybody got any questions?
What are you
Not so
doing?
much a question, Jamie. I'm going to put you in the spot to give us the top 5 networking tips.
Okay. Know what you want. Quite often I'll come across people that have got no idea what they want. Anyone is what they say. So know what you want. And that can be different things at different times. So it might be that you're looking to scale your business. And if I use Ashley as an example, he said at the start his business is quite new. He might want to speak to someone that's been doing it 10 years so that he can have a coffee with them and find out what he should do and what he should not do. So know what you want. It can be different things. It might be a client, it might be somebody from marketing. There's all sorts of different things you can get from networking. Have some stories to tell. So have some client stories. Nobody wants facts and figures. What they remember is stories. And somebody had me as a guest on his podcast the other week, and he went, "You're a brilliant storyteller." And I didn't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. I'm assuming that it was, because I've just got lots of stories that I can tell on different things that's relevant to my world. So examples. So I have some examples. And quite often people will go, I'm looking for an introduction to anyone who needs, I don't know, let's call it a builder. Whereas if you give an example of your last client, so my most recent client, I've just done a 2-story extension because they're working from home when they don't have enough space and they've got another baby on the way. And rather than move, and then somebody will go, "Oh, I know someone that's got a baby and they work from home. Maybe I could introduce you to them." So client stories usually lead to more introductions than just general asks. So the first one was get clear on what it is that you want when you go networking.
Yep.
Get good at following up with people. So
Yep.
if I use Stuart as an example, going networking isn't the end goal. You go networking to meet someone to then get a meeting with them. That is the goal of networking. And it might be that I go networking and meet Neil because when I say, "If you know anyone, can you introduce me?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah." And I say, "Write their names down," and his head goes down. I need to follow up and have a meeting with Neil. Going networking is not the thing. It's what happens after it. And then Neil's got a book there on the right of him called Atomic Habits. Listen to it or read it or ask ChatGPT what's the best stuff from Atomic Habits. Put some habits in place that help you.
Yep.
So networking habits. Did anybody wake up this morning and think, "Do you know what? Today's the day that I'm going to remember to brush my teeth. I haven't done it for a few days. I need to do it today." No one ever thinks that.
Funny. It's funny you should say that.
That's the beauty of Zoom. We can't tell.
Look at Neil's teeth. They get brushed every hour.
Or turkey teeth.
But so you have a lot of habits in place where you just do things automatically. You didn't wake up this morning and think, you just did it. I wanted to do the same with passing referrals. So last year, Christmas before last, I read Atomic Habits and I wanted to work on the habit of passing one good introduction every day. And I had a bit of paper and I used to track it. And some days it'd be none and some days it'd be 2 or 3, but it was 5 a week. And I did that last year until the point that it became a habit. We grew, so it took me 3 years to grow Circle Networks from 0 to 120 members. So January last year, we were at 120 members. With no difference last year, we grew from 120 to 300. So 3 years to get to 120, 1 year to go from 120 to 300. The only thing that I did different last year was pass more referrals to other people. It got to the point where I was getting overwhelmed with the introductions that I was getting, and I just couldn't cope with them. So I had to put some processes in place that kind of removed me from it a little bit, because it was just, and one day I got 13 introductions from someone. Fucking hell, how am I going to find the time? And it was like 2 days before I went on holiday. So get good at passing referrals to other people, and then build really good relationships with the right people as well. So think about your business and your customers. Who are the people that your customer deals with before you, while they're with you, and after you? So if it was, so there might, if you think about moving house, so at the start of the process is probably a mortgage broker, because you can't do anything until you got a mortgage. Then there's an estate agent involved. Then there's a solicitor, conveyancing solicitor. Then what else might there be? A removal company. And then once you've moved in, usually there's some work that goes on in a house. So then it might be that they have new carpets, that a decorator comes in, somebody fits blinds, they might want an extension, they might want a conservatory, they might want some rewiring doing, they might want a new bathroom fitted or a new kitchen fitted, all of that stuff. If I'm the estate agent, then there's a bunch of people that work with the client before me, whilst they're working with me, and they're my client, and then after me. That's the referral team that you need to build. But it can make it a bit easier to think about who deals with my client before me, while they're with me, and after me. And then if you're not sure about that, ask your customers, ask some of your old customers. So if Ashley's done some building work in his local area, might go back to his customer that he did the work for last time and go, who were the trades that you used on this project? Because I remember that they did a good job. They could introduce you to some people that could be your best referral partners. So if your customer trusted you, there's a good chance that they were a good judge of character with the other people that they picked as well. So that might help you. And it's no skin off their nose to introduce you to a plumber or an electrician or a plasterer, all those kind of things. So that's 4 things. Just be a good person is probably the last one. Or to use Stuart's words, what would you say? Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
It's funny, just being a nice person can win your business and help you build good relationships. Be a good friend.
Of course it can.
Yeah, be a good friend to people. Check in on them. Don't wait until you
Be
need.
genuine.
Yeah, but don't wait until you need something from someone. Stay in touch. You should have. None of us start a business to have more friends, but our friends don't generally support our business. So what you need is some people that run businesses that become your business best friends.
Yeah.
They check in on you. They look after you. They'll comment on your posts. They'll share stuff. They'll tag you. They'll pass you introductions to people that can give you thousands of pounds. Have some business best friends. In order to do that, you need to be a good friend. Don't be that person that only rings someone when you need something. Is that all right, Stu?
Love it, Jamie. Excellent. So that was our top 5. Any questions for Jamie before we wrap up? Any questions? All good? All clear what we need to be doing. Do you know what? Jamie's done this a couple of times now, been in loads of his groups, and every time I think I need to do that. I need to do that. I need to do that. So always great to have a refresher as well, Jamie. And just remember, Ashley, Toby, I think Jared's got the link anyway. You get a free trial. Go along and try Circle. Always say, especially for us in construction, go to Neil's property group every second Thursday, right? The free trial doesn't kick in till you actually attend the first event. Loads of people go along and go to 4 or 5, all different groups, all different people. So I've already sent the link out for that. I'll redo it tomorrow. Use the free trial. You'll be pleasantly surprised how good Circle is.
Let me just give one last story. So I met someone that was a personal trainer, and she was really struggling. She was coming out of lockdown. She was doing online PT stuff, and so coaching people remotely, sending videos, doing badly at it. She was a general PT, so she would work with anyone. So she came along to Circle Networks and started to be around people who knew how to network. So there's a lot of people in my network who've been through more training. I run a longer training course. So you're around good networkers in Circle Networks. She decided to niche to be her background was she used to work backstage in the theatre industry. So she decided to be a backstage theatre professional PT. And I was like, fucking hell, that's like really niche. I don't even know anyone that works in the theatre industry, let alone backstage in the theatre industry. So these are all the people that are doing lighting and moving curtains and furniture and all that kind of stuff. There's probably a lot more to it than that. So that was what she decided to niche into. She got clear on describing her ideal client, but she learned from all these people in Circle Networks and then went and applied it with her people. So she would network with us, but then go and use it somewhere else. So when she first joined, she had £17 in the bank. She was on her ass. And within 6 months, I think she was doing about £5 a month, got no clients directly from Circle Networks, but credited learning everything in Circle Networks. She ended up having clients that were in the West End and then got on to people that were working backstage in Broadway. So she became international with what she did. Then she packed up and became a digital nomad and just went and traveled all around Europe because all her stuff was on Zoom. But she learnt the skills from being around good people that knew how to network. So you might not directly get clients from your networking. I'm not saying you have to come to Circle Networks, but being around good networkers is a good thing to do.
Good. Good way to finish up. Excellent. Jamie, thanks again. Any final questions before we call it quits? All good?
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Jamie,
Thank you.
thanks again for coming
Very
along.
good, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
We'll do this again. We'll make sure it's not on a school holiday. Hey, schoolboy error. My fault. Don't have
All right.
kids, don't know. Unless it's a German Shepherd holiday, I won't know about it.
Right, have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks,
Cheers.
everybody, for coming along.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.